Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So today I'm here with my initial review of the Google Pixel 3 XL. So what I like to do is I like to do like a 72-hour review, and then I'll follow up in a couple of weeks and I'll do a full review and cover some other things after I've been able to use it for a while and really feel the device out, and especially how it compares to others. So I've been using the Note 9, been using the iPhone XS Max, 10s Max, whatever you want to call it, and now I've got this. So the Google Pixel, what is it? Well, just like Apple is the originator of all things Apple, Google is the originator of Android. So anytime you buy something that's not a Google device, you're getting another company using their software, which is one reason why, Google optimizes their stuff better. They have their hardware, they have their software. It's about as close as I'll call it, just because of the whole Venom thing, a symbiotic relationship as you can get, except it's all under one roof, just like Apple does. So you get more optimization, better streamlining, you get the latest and the greatest in updates, and you get that bare bones original Android experience. It doesn't have all these crazy user interface overlays, all that good stuff, because it's the original. So this year's model comes in 3 colors. It comes in just black, it comes in clearly white, and it comes in not pink. I have the clearly white version. And one cool thing about this one, it has a little mint colored power button, but I'll get to that in a minute. So before I get too much into it, I do want to go ahead and cover some of the specs. So you're looking at the latest and greatest Snapdragon 845 processor. It's the latest flagship model from Qualcomm. It's got a 6.3-inch screen with a notch, which we'll discuss that. 12 megapixel camera, and then it's got a 3,430 milliamp battery, which I have to say straight out of the gate, using it for a couple of days, it's not as impressive as I hoped that it would be. I'm sure with some software optimization, of course it's using the latest and greatest Android Pie 9.0. I would expect that since the phone's new, that they'll get it further optimized and detailed down the road. But right now, battery performance is okay. It's not great, it's not bad, but it's only going to get you through the day. It's not a 2-day phone. And a lot of other reviewers have echoed that as well. It does have band 71 LTE, so if you're into that 600 megahertz spectrum life and you're with T-Mobile, you're going to be really happy. It does have IP68 dust and water resistance. It has wireless charging, which is a first for the Pixel, so that makes some people happy. I wirelessly charge mine at night because I don't want to have to use 2 different plugs, so it's convenient for me. It's also at my desk, so that works well. So it's got a Oled screen on it, which is made by Samsung, which seems to be the theme for the year. So Apple's using a Samsung panel, Google's using a Samsung panel with the Pixels, and of course Samsung's using a Samsung panel. So it's so much Samsung love for everybody with the displays this year. But what's interesting is, if you think about it though, even though they're all 3 Samsung displays, they all look different. So you get a different representation, you get a different image quality, you get all sorts of individual unique, contrast and coloring, temperature features and everything in all 3 different phones. So that's something that's kind of cool. All right, so it's got 64 gigs of storage. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is also going to be a topic of discussion because there's been some heartburn about that in the community. And what does that mean exactly? So we'll talk about that. Now, what was curious with this one, so they've got the 12 megapixel rear-facing camera, which is cool. 12.2 megapixels, f1.8 aperture. It does a 28 millimeter wide lens, so you get that nice wide lens effect when you take the photo, which is cool. Optical image stabilization and dual pixel phase detection auto detect focus, PDAF. It does 4K video, but only up to 30 frames per second. It does a 1080p up to 120 frames per second, 720p up to 240, and then with the gyro electronic image stabilization, you get 1080p at 30 frames per second if you want to do that. Now, what they did though with this model, which was curious and may justify the notch a little bit, and also the little robot face on the front, you've got dual 8 megapixel cameras. One of them is a f1.8, which is a wide lens, 28 millimeter, phase detection autofocus, but it also, the secondary one is ultra wide. It's an f2.2, 19 millimeter. There's no autofocus on it, but you can take really cool super wide lens selfies. And that's really nice because, one of the hardest things with taking selfies, which I don't take many of them myself, but whenever you're trying to take one, is trying to get everybody in the picture and then trying to capture what's behind you as well. So with that ultra wide selfie, you can really get good selfie pictures. So still using USB-C, no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, but it does come with an adapter. And it does also have the Pixel Buds, but their USB connection, which is perfectly fine. All right, and I think that's enough about talking about the specs. So let's look at the phone some. I really just like to cover all that stuff before I get into it, because whenever I'm going over the phone, usually I'm integrating and talking about those things. Also has dual stereo speakers, and I'll go ahead and fire this up just so you can see, how quickly it works in real life. And this is the best look you're going to get at the notch, because it has that cutout there. It's black, and then you can see the white background. So that's how quickly it starts up. I have mine primed for my pen. I'll change this, but just did it for the video to make life easier. All right, so welcome to Android Pie, and also welcome to the Google Pixel 3 XL, which is a solid phone, and I like it a lot. I have been using it. It's probably the most well-balanced phone that I can say that I've ever held. It feels weighted equally. Like the distribution throughout this thing is great, and it feels great in the case. Honestly, it does feel premium, and the way it feels premium to me is almost feels kind of fragile. And this is just based off of my impressions on holding it. It is very nice. It has Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and on the back. It has this frosted texture. So if you think about if you put like a beer mug, or you put a glass in the freezer so you can have it frosted for when you put a drink in it, that's kind of the effect that they're going for here. And it does have a different texture to it. And I hear that it scratches like nobody's business. So mine's going back in the case as soon as I get done with this video. And then it has the regular glass here. And honestly, I like the regular glass feel. This feels kind of slick, and I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, it feels interesting, I guess. I mean, it feels like it's frosted glass, but I don't really like it. You may like it. I definitely wouldn't carry this thing without a case, because you're just asking to scratch it up, and you're also asking to drop it. But the regular glass, I think, feels better. I mean, it's the same experience really as the phone, with minus the screen protector, because they're both Gorilla Glass 5. So it's a very gorgeous phone. This white color is really nice, especially with the contrasting colors here. You can tell immediately that it's a Pixel just because of the design. You got your fingerprint sensor here. You got your camera and your LED flash back there. It works great. There's that green button I was telling you about, which is neat. All right, so on the front here, I have my always on display on here, so I can always see like this faint little graphic back here, but it tells me the time and the date, the temperature, all that cool stuff, and then my battery percentage, which is nice. The wireless charging does work well. There are some phones, whenever you set it down on the wireless charge, you have to really hone it in on that sweet spot. This one I think is kind of forgiving, so I'm happy about that. So let's get a nice close-up here, if you can see these cameras. So we've got the two cameras here, and then we've got the speaker. It almost looks kind of like a mouth. So when I turn the screen on here, if we can see, there we go. It almost looks like a happy face. You see the mouth, got the two eyes. It looks like a little robot happy face. Ta-da! Kind of reminds me of Johnny Five from Short Circuit, if you grew up watching that show. If you haven't, go check it out. It looks like Johnny Five. All right, so here we are, Android 9.0. Now, it's a bit of a learning curve if you're coming over from another phone, because so much stuff on here is gesture-based now. And I can't say whether it's good, bad, or indifferent yet. I only have a few days with it. The first day was maddening, coming over from 8.1 Oreo, using my Note, and then trying to use this. I was like, oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. So they got rid of the menu button. There's no menu button on in here. There's a back button, there's the home button, but to switch back and forth between apps, traditionally, and I kind of got used to this on my Note and my S9 Plus, because you would just swipe up to get to the app drawer. Well, when you swipe up now, it takes you to recent apps. So you got your recent apps here, which is, I mean, it's okay if those are the recent apps you had. Plus you also get the Google search bar there, which is convenient. To get to the app drawer, you have to swipe up again. And you can't do it from the middle of the screen. You have to do it down here. I mean, if you try it right here, even where the icons are at, it doesn't really work out right. You have to do it down here. So basically down where the search bar is at, and you're having to swipe up. Now, here's the stuff that I have loaded, and I was trying to do all sorts of different things with this so I could show it off. It's very similar to the carousel setup that they have on iPhone 12. So if you're familiar with the iPhone 10, the iPhone XS, XS Max, all that good stuff, this will be familiar, but it's very counterintuitive to what Android has been. Because it used to be, you hit the menu button, everything pulls up, and you go swipe, 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 or you just hit the button and you close all of them out. Now you swipe up and then you go up, 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 and you have to swipe them all the way, just like you do with iOS. So there's that. Now you can swipe to the right, you can get your Google Assistant, get your live feed here, which populates based off the things that you do on your phone. So you can see that I like basketball, I like phones, I'm in Houston, so of course the Trump rally's on here, Supreme Court stuff. I mean, it just populates things based off of what you look at and what you like. So there's that. Now, it's got the squeeze feature, which you can squeeze the sides just like the previous Pixel, and then it'll pull up with your Google Assistant and it'll be talking. Well, it'll follow along while you talk. It's actually really good at that. So I'll close that out. But that's how you do that. It's a nice simple feature that works well. I like it better. If you want, you can hold down the home button. It'll accomplish the same thing. So here we go. So we're talking about a 6.3 inch screen that we have on here. And on the 6.3 inch screen, we have a little bit of the real estate that's gone because of the notch. I'm not going to talk about it too long because everybody in the world under the sun has talked about, oh my gosh, this notch. If you want the phone, you'll get over it. If you use it for a day, you'll get over it. Should you have to get over it, that's a completely different story. I really hate that they're forcing this whole notch trend on us. And I'm okay with it to an extent as long as it's functional and it serves a purpose. Here, it would seem that it serves a purpose because it has the 2 cameras and the speaker. Did it need the 2 cameras and the speaker? I don't know. People rave and rave about the speakers. I have hang-ups on the speakers. I like them. They actually have very good natural depth to them. They have some boom. They sound really good. They're powerful. But as far as the sharpness and the quality of the sound, I'm actually more partial to my iPhone sound or even my Note. So I can't say that it's the best. Some people have been going on and on about it. Of course, it comes down to personal preference at the end of the day. But it does put out a lot of power. It has a lot of depth. It has good volume. It doesn't sound as clear or as crisp as I would like it to, but it does sound good. I'll demonstrate it here in a minute. And of course, you get that full frontward facing effect because of the dual stereo speakers. So, I don't know, I'll find something on here just to play some sound. Let me see. You can see what I look at. Phil Hartman. Let's type in music. Oh dear. M-U-S-I-C. I didn't have this preloaded. Ah, Metroid Prime. That's cool. Here we go. So here's the volume. And just so you feel better about it, here, I'll put the microphone right next to it. Alright, so that's a demonstration of the sound. As you can see, it's very adequate. It is loud. I'm curious to see how this translates over to the video because, of course, I film all my videos live while I do this. So I'm getting some of the same experience on seeing how well it turned out in the video as you are. And, of course, if it's good enough to publish it, hopefully I don't have to reshoot the same video because there's a lot of work that goes into it. So that's just a sound test. You get the depth. That was on max volume on the phone. That was on max volume on the sound that was on there. And it was good. I can't say it's the best ever. But I will do a side-by-side comparison with the Note and this one, then and also the iPhone. So we'll test out all 3 of the speakers in my next review. All right, so we talked about the speaker. The operating system, it pretty much speaks for itself. But one curious thing that they did with this phone is they only put 4 gigabytes of RAM in it. So we're talking $899 for the XL model, and the regular model is $799, which I thought really was not justifiable because the Pixel 2 was $649. It was such a good price and such a good phone. So I guess they want us to believe that the IP68 and the wireless charging is just worth the extra 150 bucks. The Pixel 2, even when the iPhone XS Max came out, was still touted as the best phone camera. I mean, it couldn't beat it still. So people are saying now this is the perfect phone with the perfect camera. I still, looking at it and being able to get a Pixel 2 XL for $699, brand new from Google, I kind of say that the Pixel 3 XL and the Pixel 3 are the perfect justification to get a Pixel 2 and a 2 XL. Now, there are new software features, but from what I know, there was conflicting information on it based off of whenever, I watched some other preliminary reviews for those first looks and then also what they're talking about. But as far as I know, a lot of the software features for the camera enhancements are going to be backward compatible with the Pixel 2 and 2 XL, at least maybe even the Pixel. So when you're talking about the best camera as of, a week ago before this one came out, and you already had last year's flagship specs, same memory, and no notch. I mean, I'm not going to try and talk out of Pixel 3, but if you don't want to spend the money to get Pixel 3, you're still guaranteed the software updates. You're already on Pi. You get 98, 99% of the same experience with the 2 XL. So I'm going to throw that out there and I'm going to leave it. So here's the Pixel 3 XL. 4 gigabytes of RAM. Why? Well, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know what they were thinking when they did it, especially bumping the price up to $899, because if you're talking $899 territory, pretty much every other phone in that price category has 6 to 8 gigs of RAM already. The S9 Plus, 6 gigs of RAM. Now, the exception being the LG G7 has 4 gigabytes of RAM, but I'm also going to say 4 gigabytes of RAM I think is perfectly fine. The way that the processor is balanced out and the streamlining of the way that the user interfaces work and Android itself has come a long way from the days where you used to have a app killer running in the background to make sure that your phone didn't freeze up or it wouldn't start shuddering because it was too much stuff taking up your memory. So better memory management, better programming, all that good stuff. Yeah, I was saying probably 6 months to a year ago, having 6 to 8 gigabytes of RAM is kind of a gimmick. And I mean, if you're talking about purely a selling point for charging extra money, I still think that it is. 4 gigabytes will get you by just fine. It'll do whatever you want. I haven't come into a scenario where I've really, outside of my normal usage or even exceeding my normal usage, it's become a problem. So I say don't let that deter you, but at the same time, at the price point and considering we're about to roll into 2019 and all of the competitors other than the iPhone and the LG G7 have more than 4 gigabytes of RAM. I'm sure with the Pixel 4 next year, we'll see 6 gigabytes of RAM. I would have liked to have seen it in this one just to set it apart a little bit more from the 2 series and to make it a little bit more future-proof moving forward. But Google's the best at what they do, and I'm sure they knew what they were doing. So I don't really question it too much because I haven't noticed any drawback in performance. Now, looking at the phone a little bit more, you get some cool stuff in the settings. You get Nightlight mode, which they added in here. Going to the rest of the settings. There's some things you can do with the display. They're talking about having a feature come in that will eliminate the notch. Honestly, I don't look at it like a notch as much as I do an extension of the screen. Instead of before where we had just the bar that was cut out and you had all this information up here, now we have a meaningful camera and a speaker there. I'm not saying I like it, but I'm saying that it's not that bad. Now, you can see there's very limited icons that they show up here. They've got the ones over here and the ones over here. Okay, that's cool. I'm looking forward to the software update to where you can adjust that. But see, the thing is whenever they come up with a software update, or you can go into developer options, you can get rid of it now. But then you're stuck with the screen that cuts off right here. And if you're going to cut the screen off right here, why are you even buying this phone other than the camera? And is the camera really worth $900 to you? Just get the Pixel 2 XL. Anyway, hint, hint. So, advanced features in here, you can go in, screensaver, ambient display, you can adjust that stuff, wake screen, device theme, you can mess with that, so you can do a light or a dark theme. I keep mine on the light theme. Adaptive brightness, I'm going to tell you that the adaptive brightness is kind of sucky. It's very evident that the adaptive brightness is going on. It's not as smooth as the True Tone or the stuff that's going on in Apple's world. So you can adjust it, and then let me see. Whoop. So you can see how it dims there, maybe, and it lights back up. it's not, it's not subtle at all. It's very, very obvious when it does it. See, it faded again and goes back. And it can do that, I mean, just by just a little bit of a change in the light. So it's kind of annoying. I used it for the last 3 days. I didn't notice that it preserved my battery life, so I just turned it off this evening. So another cool thing that you can do in here in the setting, it has to do with your routines and stuff. It's called digital well-being, and this is in beta right now. It tells you how many unlocks, how much you use the camera. Oops. You can click on each of these, but it shows you settings, Facebook camera, all the stuff that you've been using. Apparently I use Slack and Boom Beach a lot. I used my phone for 3 hours, 22 minutes today. Battery life was not exceptional. I got about 3.5 hours before I decided to charge it at 35%, but it did quick charge from 35% to 85% in 1 hour. So we're talking 60% charge in 1 hour. So that's pretty good. So you can do not disturb, manage notifications, flip to so you can put it in do not disturb mode, wind down mode. And I'm gonna run you through this so you can set it up for your bedtime schedule. Relax your eyes so you can adjust it so it'll do that night shift on there. Get a bedtime reminder so you get a nanny in your phone telling you, hey, it's time to go to sleep. Avoid interruptions, it turns the notifications off so you can get a good night's sleep. So you can do all that. And then you rise and shine, so it sets it up so whenever your wind down period ends, it goes back to its usual settings. So I just wanted to run you through that real quick. Now the camera. The camera is simple yet classy, and it works really well. Now some of it I will say is a little gimmicky. Portrait mode, of course, portrait mode. You get portrait mode on the front and on the back. So, oops, hard to do this behind the camera. So you can see all the pictures out on the internet. You're not going to see anything good on here through my camera, but you get portrait mode, you get panorama mode. Panorama mode I still think is garbage on any phone, so if you can take successful panorama mode pictures and you like them, more power to you. Video is good. The stabilization is amazing, and you can see that echoed on a lot of other people's reviews as well. If you want to zoom in, you just double tap on the screen. That's the same thing for the camera. Double tap, get your zoom, so it automatically goes there, so you can zoom out less or more. So you've got that going for you. Now here's the nifty stuff. You get your slow motion, so you can do your slow motion video shot. You can do playground mode. So with playground mode, it's going to be best if I do this because my camera, I'll show you, they're going to land on my table and you're not going to be able to see them very good. See, oh, there's the hole. See, you can't see them very good because of it thinks my table is a surface like the ground. So we'll clear it out by hitting selfie mode, which is kind of slow, you can see there. So let's drop somebody in cool. Let's go Captain America. Where'd you go? What are you doing over there? All right, Captain America. Yep, thanks for the salute, buddy. Captain America. He's hiding. He doesn't want to be on the camera. So you get playground mode, and it's kind of neat. I mean, my favorite ones, of course, are the Star Wars ones that came out. Oh, where is he? Ah, there he is. Whoop. See, he doesn't want to be in the picture either. Maybe see if I can get him over here. Whatever. Oh, I don't have that emoji pack. No, I don't have that one either. Okay, I don't know why he keeps dropping over there. But anyway, they'll interact with you. You can wave at them, you can smile. Photosphere is kind of neat. You can do this 360-degree thing where you take a picture. So you take the picture and then you follow the dot around. And you can make like those 3D pictures where you see people where you can like move it around. So you'll just take your 3D picture. And I made one that I'll go ahead and show you. Oh, there's a selfie I took with the Stormtrooper earlier. All right, so oh, that was a failed panorama shot. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. See, so that was as good as I got. I mean, I took a few, but it's kind of like whenever you do like a virtual reality thing. If you ever look at like an apartment or a home, so you can make those pictures on here. So that's kind of neat. And then you get the Google lens, which, if that's something that's important to you, there we go. Let's see what that is. Hooray, they figured it out. It's Pepsi. Yep, you got me. It's Pepsi. It's even Diet Pepsi. So that I don't really care so much about. If you care about it, then it works well and it's cool. Portrait of a Pepsi. There we go. You got a little bit of a blur in the background, but I mean, nothing great to write home about. You would be able to see better if it weren't for the fact that I was looking at this with poor lighting and it doesn't show up on my phone well. But one day I'll get studio lighting and it'll look better. Anyway, so all that to say, the phone works well. I like it. I'm going to take some pictures and post them and make an Instagram link. So I'll drop that in this video probably in the next day or two whenever I get a chance. Of course, we got a 90% chance of rain tomorrow. So I would anticipate in the next couple of days, I'm going to go ahead and upload on my Instagram. I'll drop some pictures so you can see. And I'll do a comparison with the Note, also with the iPhone, and then with this. I'm super excited about that because it does take great pictures, and everything I've seen about it, it takes wonderful pictures. There's not a whole lot of great things to take pictures of in suburbia, Houston area, but if I can get around some buildings or something cool, then that would be nice. But all in all, $899 for the Pixel 3 XL, at $799 for the 3. If you look at it in comparison to many of the other phones that have come out, the flagships, the S9 Plus, you look at the G7, you look at the Note, you look at the iPhone, I think it's priced competitively. I would like to have seen a little bit more in it. There's nothing really to brag about outside of it does have this year's flagship specs. It does have the best camera you can get. But then again, like I said, you can get the 2XL for $200 less right now. So, and you don't have to worry about the notch. So if you want most of the same experience, but $200 less, 2XL is looking pretty good right now. But if you want the latest and greatest, and this is what you want, I think it's going to get a little bit better as we go forward, especially as they get everything refined for it and polished better. And this just hit the ground running a few days ago. So I would expect to see a pretty immediate software patch in the near future. Plus, we need the October security update. This was still running September. So yes, I believe it's running September. I was looking at it earlier. But all in all, it's a change. Is it for the better? I don't know. It's going to take some getting used to, but the interface is great. The build quality is great. It's premium. Definitely worry about scratches, but that's the Google Pixel 3 XL. So hopefully you like this. Hopefully it's been helpful. I know that my reviews kind of drag on because I go through so much stuff with them and cover a lot of things ad nauseum, but I want you to be able to have as informed information as you can. So if this is something you're interested in, you can get it. If it's something that you're on the fence about, maybe this will help, and maybe it'll help you in the other direction if it's not something that you want to spend your money on. But this is the 3XL. Thanks again, as always, for tuning in, and I will see y'all next time.